darlings on Team Dale and everyone else. How's everybody? I'm good, except for I did legs today at the gym. Ooh, so I put on my skinny jeans. Is it happening? Is it happening? Is it jazz? Yes, it is. Welcome back. Yeah. Here's a fun topic. Others. Never been a fan. Right? Who needs them? Right? And even I work essentially completely isolated, like it doesn't mean I always get along with my other teammates, even though there are none. Just kidding. So, yeah, I just wanted to take a minute and talk about others because it's such a topic that's fraught with stuff, right? Because while, as we talked about in here before, that all of our success and opportunities is going to come from others, right? What also comes from others is often difficult, right? Tricky. And, it's like the reviews for Humanity are in, and yeah, they're not great. Right? Like, I know we all get annoyed and triggered and troubled by others, right? And so that's something that we have to look at if we truly are going to be, a monk in the world on a spiritual journey for one, right? Because it's difficult when we get our feelings hurt, like we did last time when we learned, just to wrap ourselves up in our energy bands, right? To not get our emotions stepped on. That takes a little bit of practice. And I really liked kind of the idea of, like, it is a little bit like you're walking into a business interview. Whenever you're with others, right, you should have yourself just a little bit more wrapped up, right? Like, you're ready to have those conversations and you're aware of your energy, your personal power, what others are doing. But what happens is we sometimes fall asleep at the wheel, and we're not always that, engaged and locked up with ourselves, right? And so we're just loose and casual, and then people say things, and because we're not, together, we get our feelings hurt. I'll give you a prime example. On Friday, someone on social media called me a raging narcissist. Like, I get why somebody would say that. Like, I'm clearly very involved in my own life. Created an entire industry just around, like, me. Oh, and more me. Let's see, I'll do a show and I'll put me in it. I'll, direct it. I will, star in it. I will definitely be in charge of the sets. It just goes on and on and on. But that's also a bit of just the situation of my life. I live in a very remote area. I don't see others sometimes for days, unless I go to the grocery store or something. I'm just here at our ranch, and so my husband goes off to work, and I'm just here left to do this, I guess. Because I'm not really working right now. It's difficult for me to find a job that's appropriate because of, my dystonia. I don't always know when I can function. So it just makes things tricky, right? And anyhow, I get what he was saying. I understand that people will sometimes think that I'm a total narcissist. All right. I accept that because, I've set this whole thing up just, it's the Dale Rouse show, or the Dale Allen Rouse show, right? Anyhow, that really hurt my feelings. Like, it just felt so unnecessary and just so vicious and, like, out of left field. And like I said, while I understand why someone would think that about me, I just hope that it's also, clear that I'm very motivated to come in here every day and not only create a life for myself, but to impart to you right? Things that I have learned along the way to make your lives better. I'm very motivated by that, by showing you the things that I have learned in order to get myself out of tight situations, out of difficult emotional times. That's why I'm here. Because until we all heal ourselves, and if I can have a little hand in that, in helping you resonate higher and not be triggered and angry and bring more angst into the world, if I can achieve that for you, that's a win for me. Okay, so I'm very motivated to do that and help people. That's why I do this, honestly. Yeah, it's also for accountability for me, just to come in here and say, I'm still on Team Dale, I'm doing my contacts, report in with you, check in with you, and hold myself accountable, right? Like there's definitely part of it, but macro, like high level, I'm more motivated to change the vibration of the planet. I mean, that's it. That's what I work in service to, so that we can, as a singular sphere floating around in space, be in harmony with, I think, Creator's intention. And that, for me, is where we've gotten off a little bit. What is Creator's intention? Why is all this here? Was there a purpose for all of this being here? I think that there is. And I don't think that it's so that we can work a stupid job that serves nothing for 30 years in hopes of getting a pension. Like, that's just not life to me. Life is about the experience, right? And the learning and the growing. So that's what we're doing in here. And I just want to say off the top that if I ever say anything in here that is wrong, or you think should be different, I want you to know that I'm here collecting information to learn and grow and develop as a person. I'm not in here to stand up and say, oh, this is absolute truth, right? Because only closed-minded people do that. If you think or you have seen anywhere where, Christianity reigns supreme, led with love, tell me about it. I don't believe it. I've never seen it. But if it exists somewhere, like, okay, great, the Christians got one. They're actually leading with love rather than judgment. Because again, love is defined as the absence of judgment. So there has to be a place for everyone to exist, right? Along those lines of me saying something wrong, I really owe the straight white women who are listening here an apology for my last video, right? I said something that was disparaging to that certain group. And I hope that you understand that that comes from a lifetime of frustration with this group, but to lump everyone who belongs to that group into a certain mindset is bigotry. And I'm guilty of that for that last video, and I'm sorry. I apologize. If you are a straight white woman and you are here listening to me, you've already done the work, right? And you're probably going to get kicked a whole bunch, which is completely unfair, because you're the one who are leading that group, and you're here, right? Please understand our frustration. Straight white women have been late to the conversation many, many times when it comes to bigotry and intolerance, because you all are just super comfy, right? Like, and I get it, like, enjoy your comfort, but at the same time, your neighbors, your friends, me, is being marginalized, and you go blind to it, and that makes us crazy, right? That makes us crazy because you're not seeing the others who are harming us, and you're saying it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine at all. We need you to step up. And the ones who are here, I bless you and thank you. I thank you for being that person, the leader of that group, to bring others along. Yep, you're going to get kicked. You're going to get kicked a lot, because there's a lot of people who are very frustrated with that group, right? And so out of our frustration comes lashing out. I won't do that anymore, and I apologize. Moving on. So, learning, right, is what we're doing here. And I have no preset ideas that can't be changed with better and new information. if I'm doing something wrong, I'm saying something wrong, you let me know. Like, I am open to new information. It was like that Bill Nye movie I talked to you about a while ago, and how the moderators, Bill Nye, and the guy who created the Noah's Ark that promotes dinosaurs on the Ark, and the idea, the worldview, that planet Earth was created 6,000 years ago, and there's been no evolution or changes, and that there were dinosaurs on the Ark. Okay. But again, at the end of the movie, they asked, what would change your position, your view of the world and this information that you're presenting? And Bill Nye said, evidence to the contrary. He's a scientist, right? He's a rational being. He's open-minded. And he said, evidence to the contrary. That would change my mind. And then they asked the other guy who built the Ark, what would change your point of view? He said nothing. Nothing could change his mind. His mind was closed to his set of ideas, and nothing was going to change that, right? That's also known as not just closed-mindedness, but righteousness, right? Righteousness is what hate feels like internally. When you are being righteous, right, you are promoting thoughts and ideas that are steeped in your personal opinion or judgment on things, right? And so we have to be really careful. Anytime that word is languaged in groups, pay attention. Righteousness, think about it, is what hate feels like internally. Because when we're standing up here and we're saying X, Y, and Z is truth, right? Like that guy who slammed me as a narcissist on Facebook. He says, his little words were, you are an absolute narcissist, period. That is truth, right? So that is truth, is him being righteous. Right? That is his truth. That is his perspective. It is not my truth. It is not my perspective. Right? So that's again where we get off track with this whole judging things by is it right or is it wrong? Because his version of right is not my version of right. His version of wrong is not my version of wrong. There is no absolute truth when it comes to assessing things by is it good or is it bad? Who cares? Because no two people's opinions are going to be the same on that. So we have to start looking at things and assessing them by, is that loving? Was that a loving thing for him to say to me? Well, if you ask him, maybe so, I don't know. But I think that most people generally would say to, just kind of attack someone out of left field on social media and call them a narcissist is probably not the most loving activity. That will always be the gauge for things in here. When we have to break things down and decide what side are we going to be on, right? Do we elevate it, or is it time when love said no, right? Where is that balance? The balance will always be determined by what is the most loving activity or action that you can take. That's it. That's the only rule that governs in here. Everything else is open to discussion. Everything is open for being wrong, being critically looked at, right? To learn how to assess things in here by whether they are of love or not. Okay? So that really threw me. That guy, it hurt my feelings. Deeply, and a stranger just coming up and just whacking upside the head. And of course, because I'm a little bit sensitive about being accused of that, because I am so, self-involved, obviously. But I also want us to look at one other thing, right? Being self-centered and being centered in self are two sides of the same coin. And they are not without crossover. And I want us to learn the difference here, because being centered in self That's the whole game. That's everything. Because when we are centered in self, and someone comes along on social media and whacks us up the side of the head and calls us something that's very triggering for us, right? We have to be centered in self. We have to have our emotional cords wrapped up like we're in a job interview. Because when you're in that headspace, you're much more thinking critically. When I'm in that headspace, like I would be if I was in a job interview, I would ask myself, would I ever be looking to take life advice from this individual who thinks it's okay to just lash out at strangers online? Not that I don't do it myself. Working on it. But you know what I mean? To be centered in self is the only way to prevent ourselves from being just emotionally bashed all the time, right? So step number one to avoid that type of like just pain, because I mean, I really had to look at it because like, I mean, it hurt. Like I was really wounded by that. Like it knocked the wind out of my sails for a good day, right? And so, you know, that was really tough. And so I had to look at myself and, you know, how strong am I feeling, right? I hope that you understand a lot of people do this a lot, right? What does that mean? What does that mean to have your energy field like it's like a zipper, right? And so you have all your energy bands wrapped in nice and tight, right? And then you thread them through the middle, causing everything to snap to, right? And that's when you're together. You know when you're together. You know when you're a mess, right? So that's what we're talking about, in adopting that together energy so that we are together, that we are centered in ourselves and we are strong and we know who we are and what we represent at our core. And nobody can take that away from you. Nobody. So we learned that exercise, which is super helpful. So what did I do after I kind of assessed who is this person? Would I take advice from them? And I'm still having my feelings hurt, even though I'm doing my best to be centered in self, right? And to practice self-care and self-love, right? The next thing that I did was I just went straight to Me 100, right? And we haven't really done that. I'm going to do a separate video for that. But, you know, Me 100, again, is just like the most... It's such a fun way to just connect with yourself, because when you are 100% you, from the shoes that you're wearing to this music that you're listening to, when you are as Creator intended, there's magic there. And you feel it. Because you're just like the most you that you could ever experience, right? And so I'm like, you know, like for me, like the whole like redneck gay thing, oh my God. Redneck boys, oof, that's so hot. But anyhow, so I'm doing my redneck gay thing, right? You know, and so I got my, you know, cowboy boots on. I have, you know, my best driving outfit on, right? And I got my hat on and I'm feeling like awesome, right? And I'm driving through this incredible part of the world that I live in that is just pine trees and lakes, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm feeling centered in self because I'm representing me to the universe as I drive through, you know, and I'm just representing myself. And I drive because like I feel like my truck is my church. My truck when I'm driving is where I connect on the timeline to the present. I don't know if you've ever felt that. When I drive, I can connect to the now, the present moment, in a way that I can't when I'm still, right? It's like with each passing tree, right? You're like here, now. You're just constantly present, right? Because you're being clocked by all these things, and in order to drive, you have to be fully present. It's like extreme sports, right? That's why they feel so alive when they do it, because it forces you to be present in the moment. All the other crap of life just falls away. It has to. It has to. Because your brain has to focus on driving or not dying because you're flying out of a plane. Hope my parachute works. But extreme sports require you to be in the present moment, right? It's like quilting. Quilting does that too. I can't just check out while I'm either hand sewing, whatever, it's not gonna work. Quilting is a very precision-based art. You don't get to fake it. There's real technique. It's like ballet, right? There's very real technique that you have to employ in order to just be able to do it and get it to function, right? In order for all the pieces to lay flat, right, on a quilt. So those activities are bringing us into the conscious moment. Every single moment, moment after moment after moment after moment after moment. You're in the present, you're in the present, you're in the present, in the present, in the present, in the present, right? I can find that space when I'm driving more easily than anything else, okay? So that's what I did after I got my feelings hurt. I did me 100. I went to my closet and I picked out my most Dale boots, my most Dale jeans, my most Dale hat. And then I got in my most Dale vehicle and I turned on the music, honey. Oh yeah! It's just inescapable. That's where I found the joy button, because you got the tunes going and you're driving through and it's just so beautiful and you can't help but connect with nature and everything else that's around you. And for me, it's just the experience of just throwing open my chest and greeting the day and saying thank you, thank you, thank you for all that there is here today. And I don't understand why it all works, but it does, and it's here and I'm grateful. So others, they're tricky. They're really tricky. But, like I was saying before, while it may seem that there's just so much that we're out of control with, that we can't control, that's beyond our control, I promise you, there's a lot more that you're in control of than you can't. Because you can control everything, which is your mind. Your way of not only receiving the information, but processing and then deciding what to do with it. Because in the new earth, we're going to be learning about how we use our mind rather than our mind using us. It's a really big difference. One has chatter, the other doesn't. Right? One is noisy and scared. The other one is calm and quiet. Okay? So, I just want you to know that we're going to be doing some really awesome exercises, right? To show you how to be a solid container for yourself, because I promise you that there is so much there that you are in control of. And once we get to that place, when you're using your mind as opposed to your mind using you, and you're conscious and you're choosing how to react, you're not a bunch of pre-programmed, determined, axioms of just responses that have never been challenged or taken out and reprogrammed. The solidity of self is the antidote to others, right? To your negative experience with others. To learn how to be that monk in the world, to be so centered in self, right? That you are completely in charge and control of the energy to not only which you vibe with, but how you can change the world with just that one thing. I know that's a big statement, but what do I mean by that? When we restore ourselves to the appropriate vibration, we then in turn restore a little piece of the earth to its natural balance. We're all here for a reason. There's a reason you're here. And your vibration that you bring is determined and expected. So when you don't show up as you 100, the vibration of the planet is off. So by restoring ourselves to that place, we are energetically restoring the planet. I'm involved with some really big stuff right now, okay? And with some of my groups of shamanic practitioners, I just want you to understand the difference between what's happening in that world versus some of the old ways. And I'm saying old ways, and I know there are new ways. I know there's amazing Christians who are coming along and changing that world, and I applaud them, and I encourage them, and I want them to go for it. But in the meantime, there's a lot of stink that still has to be dealt with. And running cover for it is not the solution. Let me give you a little taste of what other humans are currently doing on this planet. I'm lucky enough to be involved in a group of shamanic practitioners that meet to help restore the vibration of the planet. And that is their only task, to restore the vibration of the planet. And these shamanic practitioners, we get together and we talk about things that will help in that effort. Things like, have we looked through history, or have we looked through our lineage of our family to go down through that portal and understand any energy field that was left over that needs to be cleaned up? That's the level that we're talking about. These people function from, and it blows my mind. They see not only the time that they are in, they see the history of the earth and energetically what needs to be cleaned up from the past, and how we as shamanic practitioners can go back through history and clean that up, because we have access to that information. I promise you we do. It's all available to us, and I can show you how to do that too, to journey back through your lineage of your family and clean it up. There's so much in my family line that needs to be cleaned up. It is a horror show. It is a horror show of judgment and alcoholism and dysfunction and trauma. That's what my family's known for, despite being a long line of Baptist ministers. So I have a responsibility of being part of that group to go back through my lineage and go back through the ancestry and see what they left on this planet that needs to be cleaned up, and I need to be responsible for that. That's my family line. And as a conscious and awake person, I need to be responsible for that. That's my lineage, right? And any garbage energetically that they have left to rot on this planet that hasn't been cleaned up yet is my responsibility. That's my responsibility. And I will do that for my family line and my family tree, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And that's all we're going to focus on. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight in terms of the levels of consciousness, right, that is available to us if we so choose to look for it. There are very conscious groups on this planet now functioning to try and change this. It's time. It's really time. Right? Because the new earth is forming. Things are changing. The old ways are dying off. You can see them screaming as they try to put their claws into everything to try and hold on to the old ways. But the thing is, love always wins. Love always wins. And that's why the younger generation gives me so much hope. Oh my gosh, it's just so inspiring to be around them, and just the way they just so naturally language things so differently from even my generation, Gen X. You know, but I also understand that now I'm stepping into an elder statesperson of this generation, because Gen X is up next. Gen X, what are you doing to change the world? It is your time. You are now the leaders. You are now the ones who stand in the right age in order to take that over and take us into a new age. We have to. Before we kill off this planet, we have to. So, I'm going to go and do my 10 contacts because that's what I can do. I can commit to the process of working on this which asks us to be more loving with one another, right? To be aware whenever righteousness comes up within us or we see it being offered in groups that we say no. Righteousness will always be of the ego. So, we determine whether it's loving or not whether it's right or wrong or righteous, right? Very dangerous word. So, I'm going to go do my contacts. Because I'm just going to I'll be honest, oh man, the reality of, the week 3 breakdown. I was like last week, oh, this is going pretty good. Like, I'm doing okay here. Like, I'm actually getting, this done, no problem. And so, I was kind of surprised that I was able to get through that whole process, like relatively unscathed. And then, Monday comes along and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can barely function. Because, I was kind of kidding myself that, maybe I got through week 3 and it just didn't, bother me that much. But it did. Finally got to the breakdown, but now I can have my breakthrough, right? That's the good news. I love a breakthrough because what we're doing here in terms of business, and maybe you've experienced this yourself, but it breaks down into 5 essential steps, right? The first is uninformed optimism. We've all been there. I'm going to start a new business. It's going to be awesome. It's going to change the world. Yay me, right? Uninformed optimism. Super easy. You start doing a new business, a new gig, whatever. Uninformed optimism. Let's go, baby. But then you get into doing the work, and suddenly you have informed pessimism. Uninformed pessimism. Right? That's step number 2. Because you've learned, oh wow, like this is actually a lot of work, and wow, this is what it feels like to get in here and work this 8 hours a day. Like informed pessimism. Step number 3, hopeful realism. Right? I'm just about to get there. Not quite there yet. Hopeful realism. I think once I start booking some gigs and maybe some clients and get my course online and things like that, I'll have that hopeful optimism, right? That hopeful realism is not there yet for me, right? It's still pretty painful. I'm still functioning solely on willpower, right? Anyways, hopeful realism is where we're hopefully going to be getting to in the next month. After hopeful realism, you get to informed optimism, right? That's when you have a real plan. You know your numbers. You know how to get there. And you know that you've done the work to set it all up. Now it's just doing the work, right? So informed optimism and then completion. Those are the 5 steps, okay? Oh, man, I am still working on this thing because, I am just trying to breathe this thing into life just by sheer, just showing up and doing it. Build it and they will come because I promise you, I need a new life. I need a new life. I need a life that works with my physical disabilities, right? So I can work when I can work. That's why this works for me. Right? When I'm feeling good, I come in here and I can do this, right? If I can't walk one day, or my arms aren't working, or I've lost my speech, that's dystonia for me. And when that's happening, obviously I can't work. So going out and trying to find a job is impossible for me. I mean, I have to work when I can. So, I'm just trying to set this up because it's this in the books. It's what I got to hang my hat on for now. So I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to stay hopeful and optimistic that when my books come out, they'll be successful and that the things that I say, I know challenge things, move those fence posts back. I know I'm doing that when I language certain things. I know I'm doing that, but that's on purpose, right? Because I have something to say about that stuff. And I hope that it resonates from a place of love and can change the vibration of this planet, because ultimately that's why we're here, right? Just to love one another a little more. So anyways, that's it for me today. I hope that you're doing well. It's always nice to see you. Don't forget about the joy, baby. Oh yeah, you never forget about the joy. We're going to be doing Me 100 this week, baby. You're going to need that. So start thinking, what's your most you pair of shoes? What's your most you music that you can listen to? All right, so let's get that going, and don't forget the joy, baby. Talk to you next time. Bye.